Lily scrambled backward through the dirt, heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear herself scream. The man stepped closer, his gaunt frame looming over her, like a shadow that didn't belong to this world. His wild eyes gleamed, and his cracked lips stretched into a grin that sent ice through her veins. "Please don't hurt me," she begged, her voice trembling. He tilted his head, studying her like an animal might study prey. "You shouldn't be here," he muttered, his voice gravelly and raw. "You never should have come." Before he could grab her, Lily sprang to her feet and ran. She didn't think. She didn't look back. Her body ran on pure adrenaline, crashing through branches that clawed at her arms and face. Her legs screamed in pain, but fear kept her moving. Behind her, she could hear him crashing through the undergrowth, his heavy footsteps pounding the earth. "Come back." His voice roared through the forest. "You don't belong here." The forest blurred around her as she sprinted blindly, desperate to find the gravel road again. The morning sun flickered through the trees, disorienting her. She stumbled over roots and rocks, each step sending sharp jolts of pain through her ankles. Then she heard a strange snapping sound ahead of her. She skidded to a stop just in time. A trap. A rope snare lay half buried under a thin layer of leaves, perfectly positioned to catch her leg. She froze, heart hammering, and carefully stepped around it. But if there was one trap, there were probably more. Lily's stomach churned. This wasn't random. He'd planned this. He'd been living out here for a long time, studying hikers, campers, and anyone unlucky enough to cross his path. She forced herself to keep going, her eyes scanning the ground frantically as she ran. The man's footsteps and ragged breathing grew closer, louder. She spotted something up ahead, a shack, old and collapsing in on itself. At first, she thought it was another empty cabin, but as she approached, she saw something hanging from a tree branch outside. Shoes. Dozens of them. Some small, some large, some with dried mud caked on them, others newer, almost clean. Lily's breath caught in her throat as she crept closer. Beneath the branch was a pile of torn backpacks, coats, and sleeping bags. She knelt down and picked up a child's jacket. Inside the pocket was a tiny toy car. Her stomach lurched. This wasn't the first time he'd hunted someone. She turned to leave, but froze when she saw something carved into the doorframe of the shack. Words etched deep into the rotting wood. "You won't leave." A sound behind her made her spin around. The man stood there, just yards away. His grin was wider now, his teeth yellow and jagged. "Pretty little rabbit," he rasped. "Always running." Lily's eyes darted around for anything she could use as a weapon. She spotted a rusty hatchet leaning against the shack's wall. She lunged for it just as he charged. His hand grazed her jacket, ripping the fabric, but she managed to grab the hatchet. She swung blindly, the blade glancing off his arm. He howled in pain, a guttural, animalistic sound that shook her to her core. "You're mine," he screamed, lunging again. She swung the hatchet harder this time, aiming for his shoulder. The blade connected with a sickening thud and he stumbled back, clutching his arm. Lily didn't wait. She turned and ran again, tears streaming down her face. Her lungs burned as she pushed herself through the forest. Her hands and arms bled from scratches, and her legs felt like they would give out any second. But she couldn't stop. Somehow, she stumbled back onto the gravel road. She recognized it immediately. It was the same one she'd driven down to reach the cabin. Relief flooded her body. She was close. She followed the curve of the road, praying she'd see her car or a ranger station. But just as hope surged in her chest, she heard the crunch of footsteps behind her again. He was still coming. And he was laughing. Lily spotted her car up ahead, parked where she'd left it. But as she got closer, she noticed something that made her stomach drop. The hood was open. Someone had ripped wires out of the engine. The car wasn't just dead. It had been deliberately sabotaged. "No," she screamed, slamming her fists on the hood. Panic set in as she realized she was trapped. She turned around, and there he was, standing in the middle of the road, blocking her path. "You're not going anywhere," he growled. Lily's breathing quickened as she backed away. Her hand tightened around the hatchet. "Please," she begged, her voice trembling. "You don't have to do this." He tilted his head. "You came here. You're mine now." Then he lunged. Lily dodged to the side, swinging the hatchet with all her strength. The blade sliced across his leg, and he screamed, collapsing onto one knee. She didn't stop. She ran back down the road, heart pounding so hard she felt dizzy. Branches whipped against her face as she darted into the woods, desperate to lose him. She didn't dare look back. She could hear his ragged breathing, his footsteps dragging now, but still following. She ran until her vision blurred, until her chest felt like it was on fire. Then she saw something ahead through the trees. A building, small, with a tall antenna. A ranger station. Relief surged through her like lightning. She bolted toward it, practically throwing herself at the door. It was locked. She pounded on it desperately. "Help! Please!" she screamed. A voice crackled over a radio inside, but she couldn't hear what it said. She banged on the door again, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, she heard his voice. "You can't hide from me." He was close. Too close. Lily grabbed a nearby rock and smashed it against the station's window. The glass shattered. She crawled inside, cutting her hands on the shards. She scrambled for the radio and grabbed it, pressing the button. "This is Lily, help. There's someone in the woods. He's trying to kill me." The response was garbled, but she heard a man's voice. "Stay put. Lock the doors. We're sending a unit now." She dropped the radio and locked the door just as she saw him approaching through the window. His grin was gone now, replaced with a look of fury. He pounded on the door, shaking the entire building. "You think they'll get here in time?" he roared. "They never do." Lily backed away from the window, clutching the hatchet. Her breathing was ragged. She knew it might be 10, maybe 15 minutes before help arrived. She didn't know if she had that long. The pounding stopped suddenly. She froze. He was inside. Her hands gripped the rusty hatchet so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Where are you, Rabbit?" the man's gravelly voice hissed. She tried to control her breathing, but it came out in shallow, ragged gasps. Every muscle in her body screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. The small ranger station was one room, a desk, a few cabinets, a map of the forest pinned to the wall. One door. One broken window. And he was already inside. A shadow stretched across the floor. His boots crunched on the glass as he stepped through the window frame, his frame hunched like a predator stalking prey. His face was streaked with dirt and blood where she'd cut him, but his grin was back, wider than ever. "You think they're gonna save you?" he rasped. "Nobody's coming." Lily's chest tightened. She'd heard the ranger's voice over the radio. Someone was coming. But what if he was right? What if this was a place nobody checked often? He tilted his head, scanning the room. "You broke my window," he whispered, his voice dripping with amusement. "That's not very polite." Lily's eyes darted around for a weapon stronger than the rusty hatchet. The man noticed her glance. His grin widened. "Go ahead. Try." She bolted for the shelf, but he lunged first, knocking over a chair as he grabbed her arm. His grip was like iron, and he yanked her backward, slamming her against the wall. The impact knocked the wind out of her. "You're mine," he snarled, his face inches from hers. His breath smelled sour and rotten. Lily thrashed, swinging the hatchet wildly. The blade caught his shoulder and he howled, loosening his grip just enough for her to slip away. She dove for the flare gun, snatching it off the shelf. She spun around, aimed it at his chest, and fired. The flare exploded in a burst of blinding red light and heat. The man screamed as flames engulfed his shirt, stumbling backward and crashing into the desk. Papers and maps scattered everywhere as he frantically tried to smother the fire. Lily didn't wait to see if he'd recover. She grabbed the radio. "Please. He's here. I shot him. Help me." She screamed into it, her voice shaking. The ranger's voice crackled back. "Hold on, ma'am. We're almost there." She clutched the hatchet and backed away from the writhing man. But he wasn't going down easily. Through the flames, he lunged at her again, knocking her to the floor. The flare gun clattered out of reach. His hands closed around her neck, squeezing hard. His face was twisted with rage, his eyes wild. "You don't belong here," he hissed. Lily's vision blurred. Black spots danced in front of her eyes as she struggled for air. She swung the hatchet blindly. Once, twice, 3 times. The third swing connected with a sickening crack. His grip loosened. His body slumped forward, lifeless. Lily shoved him off, coughing and gasping for air. She scrambled backward, her whole body trembling. He wasn't moving. Sirens wailed in the distance,